Hey everyone, my name's Cassandra. I'm the Partner Marketing Coordinator here at Smart Sites and the host of today's Lunch and Learn with Tapcart. Today we're speaking with Ash Musavian, who I had the pleasure of meeting him a few weeks ago and learned about his extensive background in not only the e-commerce space, but the agency side as well. Prior to Tapcart, he did customer success at Shopify and has worked at a few digital marketing agencies himself. He's currently leading Tapcart's agency partnership initiatives, and I'm really excited to introduce you all to him. So thanks for taking the time to be here today, Ash.
Of course, my pleasure.
Yeah, and before I hand it off, I just wanted to go over some housekeeping. So as you can see, we are recording this session, and we'll send everyone a follow-up email with the recording and a copy of the presentation later this afternoon. Secondly, we want to keep this session educational and relevant to you guys. So if any questions pop up, don't be afraid to turn on your mic and chime in to be interactive and specific to our team. Finally, make sure to mute yourselves when you're not asking questions just to prevent any kind of distractions. And that's all I have. So I'll let you go ahead and get started, Ash.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate giving the opportunity to be here. Cass and Mike have really, done us a huge favor to get in front of you folks to just chat through about Tapcart. So really appreciate that. As you guys all know, we also have Kenyon on the call. Kenyon is leading, he's a product manager at Tapcart, and he's leading one of the coolest initiatives that we're really stoked about, which is called custom code blocks. So this is, first things first, let's take a few steps back. I know we're probably dealing with a large group of people, and some of you are like, what the hell is Tapcart to begin with? So it's a good start to just kind of start there and give you a glimpse of what Tapcart is. And then I'll kind of stop. I want this to be as interactive as possible. Please just shoot questions over, and we'll take a look at it from there. So essentially what Tapcart is, and this is when I'll queue up the presentation. So what we do is we take any Shopify store and we turn it into a native mobile app, right? That means that obviously we're not talking about progressive web apps. We're talking about apps that you would actually download off of the Apple Store or the Google Play Store. And we are able to do that. We'll go over the whole thing in a minute. We're able to do that in as little as 2 weeks. Normally, in full transparency, our whole process takes about 24 days. I'll go over the whole process as how we go about enabling folks. But I think this is a good point. If you haven't yet interacted with any of our apps, if you don't mind grabbing your phone, this is the easiest way to do it. If you like, for instance, Chubbies, Culture King, Fashion Nova, those are some of the other brands that we manage. Everything is completely whitelisted. So it would be a good idea for you to just take out your phone and just either grab any of the brands that I've mentioned, like Culture King, Princess Polly, Fashion Nova, Carly Jean is another example that you see before you. We also do Ruggables. So any of those examples you want to take a look at and just play around with the app a little bit, I think that gives you a better understanding of why we want to take a look at an app in the first place. So what is the benefit here? The key thing here is that we are a retention tool. We're not an acquisition tool. Just think about your own purchasing behavior. You're not going to go ahead and download an app for your first interaction with a brand. So we're basically a mechanism that you would use to make your returning customers feel special. So how do we do that? We give them exclusive offers on the app. Now, just before we move on from here, I want to just give you a glimpse of what it looks like on the Shopify backend. The way Tapcart integrates into Shopify is we make this as easy as possible, right? We show up as a sales channel. So you could pull in all sorts of analytics about the performance of Tapcart directly from your analytics dashboard on Shopify, right? By singling out this particular sales channel. And the other beautiful thing about what we do is that you're able to set up what your app looks like. What just happened here? Of course, this is the time where my demo account doesn't function. It's basically a drag and drop functionality. So because we pull in all the data directly from Shopify, that means all your product information, all your category information, your accounts, the accounts that have been created, all pull one-to-one. And you're able to just do drag and drop functionality where you're pulling in the particular component that you want onto the product page, the home page, and you're able to create the look that you want. So if it's a category carousel, if it's a product carousel, if it's a countdown timer, search bar, whatever it is, it's basically like sections everywhere. You could drag and drop it however you would like to create the look and feel that you would want. And it's really easy to manage. Why am I having a difficulty with this right now? Kenyon, can you maybe show a different demo account? Because my demo, oh, there we go. Okay, it's working now. Okay, so in terms of the drag and drop functionality I was mentioning, it's as simple as this, right? So, sorry, did the sharing stop? Because it seemed like it stopped on my screen.
Sorry, Ash. I started sharing while that was happening, and then yours started working, so you might want to reshare.
Okay, are you sharing now, or am I sharing right now?
I think you're sharing now.
I think you're sharing now, Ash. Yep.
Perfect. Sorry about that. So essentially for this, it's really easy. I just wanted to show you.
Sorry, Ash, hang on. Stop sharing and press reshare again, because yeah, it's a weird Google Meet thing that when someone does it at the same time, and even if after they stop, if you don't stop and start, your box is small. So, yeah. So it's a weird thing. I'm sure they'll change it soon enough. But if you press present now, I think you'll be back to perfect.
Perfect. Thank you for that. Okay, so what I've done here is I've just basically wanted to show you how one of these things is easy to manage. The reason why we're showing all this for you is because of a couple of things. One is how easy is it for you to change this and the look and feel of the app as you're playing around with it? Because at the end of the day, even if you have a perfect solution for someone, as we know, merchants' time is precious. They have very little time to spend on like managing a net new tool. So if it's going to be something that's going to be cumbersome and it's going to take a lot of their time, they're going to be like, I don't want to deal with this right now. So they push off an initiative, even though it might be a right solution for them at that time of growth. The whole point here is that this is extremely easy to use. And for our enterprise merchants, we do all this for you. So if a merchant comes up to us and says, hey, look, we need to change the look and feel of my entire app for Black Friday, for this next initiative, I want a new home screen, whatever it is, our design team is there to do that work for the merchant. So even during the initial kickoff, like when we are going about the selling process, they have unlimited iterations in terms of design. We want to make sure that this represents the brand and it's something that they're really excited about, right? So in terms of the amount of time that our merchants typically spend on like managing the app, based on the quotes that I've gotten from our own merchants, it's like 1/16 of an admin's time. So it's like about like 2-3 hours a week that they would spend on this, right? And this can quickly grow to represent about 20% of your total online sales, right? And our customer success team is there every step of the way after launch to like chat with these folks on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, whatever cadence they want, to be able to not just show them, hey, how do you get people to download the app, but also how to keep them on the app, right? Now, there's probably a few questions that you have in your mind right now. One is, why the hell do we want an app in the first place, right? So I guess that the good point to kind of go back into that is it's about the easy navigation, right? So one of the things that we see is we're able to get users to have way more sessions on the app in general because of the fact that it's sitting on their home screen and it's something that they could interact with, right? When we get them on the app, the conversion rate that we have is 3 times higher than what you would see on the mobile web. Why is that? One is the speed. I'll take the Pepsi challenge any day of the week. You could go ahead right now on your whole merchants list, take a look at the Lighthouse audit on them and see how their mobile web is performing compared to their mobile desktop. And you'll see generally it's going to be in the red, right? When you're building this specifically for iOS and Android, the speed and the UX and UI is going to be drastically better. And within the short span of time that we were just like within 15 seconds, you could go to the product page and you could check out, which is really killing it for us. The other thing is that we're taking extra steps out of the way, right? So normally, obviously, the less steps that you have to check out, the better. So we're able to cut some of the steps and get people to check out directly from the product page. And beyond that is just the flow that we have set up. Like we've tested this across all sorts of different merchants, and this is the results that we're able to consistently see in terms of conversion. Also, how do we get more sessions in the first place? That's the push notifications, right? The push notifications are content-rich images that are coming in that we could target either through flows that exist that are automated. You know, the welcome series, you have the cart abandonment, you have back in stock, so on and so forth. Or you send them messages in certain campaigns by segmenting them through Klaviyo. You can also do this through Tapcart itself, where you send it to 100% of your audience, right? So you have a lot of different choices there. And this is the part where we actually need the assistance of the agencies that we work with when you guys are recommending your merchants, because this is where strategy begins, right? You're already managing email, SMS, and retention marketing. You're probably also managing all sorts of other activities for getting acquisition. The point is here, how do we increase the value of all these different acquisitions that we're fighting so hard for, right? And by getting these folks to come back more frequently to the app, and we see that we could increase the conversion when they're on the app, that's where we drive value for all these folks. I've been speaking pretty like a lot right now, so I'd like to just stop here and just ask some questions, because we obviously have all sorts of different departments in here. And I just want to make sure that you guys each get a chance to kind of raise some of your concerns, make sure we hit the right points as we're going through this presentation. Ash.
Hey there. Just a little bit of background on myself. I lead the CRO team here at Smart Sites, which is one of our newest service offerings. So I'll probably have some of the most relevant questions for you. But one thing, I don't know if you plan to review it in this presentation, that I would love to know, just from a perspective of our current clients, is some of the different synergies that we can create between Tapcart and some of our other marketing channels and platforms like email marketing or SMS through a Klaviyo, for example, or any other Shopify apps like Shop to track, post-purchase and order transactions.
Yeah. Sorry. So just to clarify in terms of the question, Ash, are we asking like who are the right clients for this? Like how do we determine which merchants are best suited?
That would definitely be one of my questions, but another question I have is how Tapcart can benefit and or interact or integrate directly with things like email automations that we have set up through other apps.
Exactly. So I'm assuming in terms of the email automations that we're speaking about, you're mostly using Klaviyo?
The majority, yes.
Yeah. So the brain behind our push notification when it comes to segmenting and sending personalized messages is Klaviyo. So there's a direct integration there. And for all the existing campaigns, flows that you have with Klaviyo, you can now, once you enable Tapcart for these merchants, you can choose, hey, if they do this, I want to send them an email. I want to follow this up with a push if they take such and such action. So it's directly integrated with Klaviyo, and you totally have everything there to play with. And that's one of the things that helps drive more work for the agency when you do make the referral for Tapcart, right? Now, in terms of other integrations, I think that's a great point. We're pretty transparent with all of our integrations. So if you just go to tapcart.com and take a look at integrations, we have all integrations listed. What you'll note is that some of these have enterprise on it. And that's when you need to be on the enterprise plan in order to be able to get those integrations. Klaviyo is like one of the major ones that really determines it. So if we're talking about more mature merchants that are already doing a lot of personalization, they need to go for our enterprise package. Nosto is included in there, and the list continues to go on. And this is actually maybe a good part. I will get back to, you know what, let me just address who are the merchants that are best suited as well while we're at it. And then right after this, I'll intro Kenyon to talk about custom code blocks, because that is really going to give us a little bit more context as to where our product is going and how you would differentiate Tapcart from other app developers that are out there, and particularly how it's going to pipe more work to your agency, right? Which is, at the end of the day, another thing that we're trying to do here. So who are the right merchants for Tapcart, right? And we mentioned this earlier, that we are a retention tool, right? So as you know, as you go through the roadmap or like the growth trajectory of any brand, in the beginning, acquisition is all they care about, right? You need to get awareness out there and like make more people purchase. But as you continue to go along, retention becomes more and more important as a merchant is maturing, right? The one thing that is critical to why we're doing all these lunch and learns and why we're trying to like get more advocates out there is, like, if we take a look at all of Shopify's merchants, I think about 2% of them right now are Tapcart users. A lot of people don't know that a mobile app would be a perfect solution for them. And that's why we need people to help educate, right? A lot of people that we have, like majority of the merchants that we had, didn't think of a mobile app originally when they actually came in with us. They were talking about cost of acquisition being really high. They were talking about how their margins have been reduced. They would potentially talk about retention, but that's where we need to connect the dots. Like, if we're just waiting for people to say, I needed an app, we're only going to capture like a bare minimum of what's actually available for us out there. So here are some figures, and I've been a little bit more restrictive with this because I want our first few experiences to be more positive. And there are exceptions to this, obviously, but I think this really helps paint the picture of what kind of merchants we would want to go after, right? A lot of these figures that I've put out here are, in essence, trying to measure the maturity of this merchant, right? So if we're dealing with merchants that are doing more than 2 million in GMV and they have a returning customer rate of 20%, and obviously Zach caught a very good point earlier in the conversation, if you're not seeing 60 plus of these sessions being on mobile, it's not a good fit right now, right? That obviously is going to change. Give it time with everywhere that the market is going. Like, I think Shopify and BFCM, 73% of their sales in BFCM went through mobile. So we're talking about some of the exceptions that exist out there, but let's not waste time, your time, my time, anybody else's time, by talking to so it's one of those things that, like, I have had merchants myself. Like, an example that I always like to use is, there was a merchant of mine that was doing cosmetics, right? And I thought naturally it's going to be a perfect fit because it's a replenishable product, right? So not only are we looking for a mature merchant, but we also need to make sure that it's the type of merchant that has enough reasons for a user to come back, right? Like, even if you have majority of mobile sales, like Skull Shaver is an example that I like to use. Like, if Skull Shaver has 4 products out there, and when you buy the product, there's no reason for you to come back. It's not as if they sell razors or anything. So even though it's a kind of well-known brand that's been mentioned in Forbes and all sorts of other places, they do more than 2 million. They don't have the returning customer rate, right? So you got to have a reason for people to come back. And what I mean by that is sometimes reflected in terms of having replenishable product like cosmetics, food, CPG, stuff like that, or having an extensive product line, right? If you're selling furniture, it's not really replenishable, but because of the fact that you have throw pillows and all sorts of decorative stuff as well, I have plenty of reasons to come back, and that's why I still have the Wayfair app on my phone, despite the fact that I finished decorating my place a long time ago, right? So those are some of the characteristics that we look for. But this, like the cosmetics brand I was mentioning earlier, was for rejuvenating or anti-aging. So it was like a lot of the users were actually 65 plus, and they preferred to use desktop. So it wasn't a good match, right? I think that's one of the easiest way for us to be able to tell, is this even worth pursuing for Tapcart or not? I want to make sure that whatever happens, you guys continue to be presented as like the strategic guides that really understand the brand, and we're not pitching stuff to the merchant that is not going to be well suited for them, right? So this is the general look of what I'm looking for in terms of a merchant for the first few times, until we get a good sense of how it is, and you guys can give me some feedback in terms of what we're looking for as well. Any questions about the ideal client profile? Any objections there? Ashley, I saw you smiling. I think you might have something. Give it. Don't hold back. Anthony.
Yeah, I have a client that uses Tapcart and she loves it. She's in the jewelry space, so thank you guys there. But a question, kind of going off the verticals of note, I have a client that definitely fits everything on the left, but they're more so in the power tools industry, and it sounds like, you know, they wouldn't necessarily need to repeat purchasers, but they sell replaceable blades, different things like that. Do you have, I'm sure you do, but do you have other verticals kind of outside of this category that you see work really well that aren't the typical client?
Anthony, so just to confirm, with this particular merchant that you're talking about with power tools,
Right.
Like their SKU count, how is that looking?
Total, I think it's about, I'd have to double check. I think it's about 200 or right under 200, and that's including like different blades too. So mainly their power tools would probably be. Oh yeah, go ahead.
And then the returning customer rate is about 20% or more?
Yes, for sure.
I think it's definitely worth a conversation, because like the other thing that I'd like to like figure out from these folks is like the other concepts that we need to take a look at is how much are they spending on retention marketing right now? Are they using SMS? Like overall, what's their vision for the brand? Are they going to continue to drop new products, or are they done with it? Are they just like what's their growth trajectory? What's their plan for it? And when it comes to new product releases, what are they going to do? Because the other thing to keep in mind here is, how do you keep the users on the app and get them to appreciate the app more, right? So if you're not letting like you don't have exclusive offers, whether it's like exclusive promo, exclusive products that are only available on the app, or specific content, right? So for this particular merchant that you mentioned, I wonder if they have any blogs about like DIY. Is that the market that they're going after? Or are they going more after contractors? Like, who are they going after generally? Because they're probably going to have a mix of both. But if like they have certain content in terms of different projects and stuff that they could motivate people to do more housework, then I could see that being something that we could push and educate people on, and get them not only because of the list of products that they have, but also the content that they push.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah, I'll definitely peek into some of those things that you mentioned and potentially link up with you in the coming days to see if it's a good fit. Thank you.
Would love to chat. Irina?
Awesome.
I was muted. I'm so sorry. Hi. So I'm familiar with Tapcart. I actually have some clients that are with you guys. But I had a question. I do have a client that, similarly to Anthony, they kind of fit the bill there. However, they're not on Shopify. So are there any solutions?
No.
Nope.
So we're exclusively on Shopify right now. And that's probably not going to change in the next year and a half or so. So we're only on Shopify. So if there are opportunities where like you guys are thinking about migration and you want to get them there and you want to push them over the line to, you know, even secure a better relationship with Shopify, we could certainly do that. But at this point, we're only on Shopify, which also is another advantage that we have compared to our competitors, because our entire team is just focused on a single platform.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
My pleasure. Any other questions? Okay.
More
So
of a statement that the Google Analytics is reporting 62% mobile sessions, so we might still talk later. All right.
Yeah, I'd love to chat because that does, like, nowadays, if you're telling me like it's 70 something percent on desktop, I'm like, what are
That's
you
what I'm
selling?
saying. I was like, there's no way it's like that low of sessions. But yeah, well,
Lovely. With that, I'd love to bring in Kenyon, who's going to talk to us about this little button that we see over here, custom blocks, which is something that we're really excited about. It meshes really well into the conversation we were having earlier, Ash. One of the major concerns that every account manager has is like when we're taking a look at the interconnectivity between apps and how well we mesh with the existing tech stack that a merchant has. So he's going to address that, and he's going to talk about some additional functionality that you can help build for your merchants when you make a referral. Kenyon?
Thank you, Ash. I'm actually going to take over the screen if you don't mind. Good to meet everybody. My name is Kenyon. I'm a product manager here at Tapcart, and I work primarily on our ecosystem team, which means we're building products for our ecosystem, which is agency partners, tech partners, as well as our merchants, developers. All in kind of the name of the game is to make Tapcart more extensible than what's out of the box. So one of the things that obviously we kind of like to tout about and talk about is that our apps are fully native, which has been a really great part of Tapcart's success. Native apps lead to kind of a more fluid experience, a faster experience, more performant application, which has been great, all things considered. However, we found that, over the time as we've scaled and worked with bigger brands or more dynamic brands, there's kind of been some challenges with being such a native first solution, which is that when it comes to customizations and custom integrations, naturally we're a little bit slower to the punch. Got to maintain an iOS app and an Android app. Again, and both in native syntax too. So when it comes to working with other vendors or solutions who come from a JavaScript background, that's been a challenge that we've needed to work through. And what we've kind of found as a really amazing solve to really open Tapcart up and support these situations is a new product of ours called Custom Blocks. And so what Custom Blocks is it really rides along with this native no-code drag and drop block builder that we use today to build out different pages. Like here you can see PDP. However, Custom Blocks is a scenario where if you don't like a block that comes out of the box, or you need a block that doesn't necessarily exist today, you can build it yourself. And more importantly, you can build it yourself using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and primarily do so in kind of the same style you would do if you're building a theme block on a Shopify website. So they're built just with those three languages. Within them, you can make any API request you need, integrate with folks you want to, and really no limitations. However, what makes them really interesting, and beyond them just being like embedded websites in the app, is the fact that we've explicitly built out two features that really make these blocks ultimately feel native at the end of the day, and so that they feel like they're cohesive with the rest of the app experience. And those two things are, one, I opened the wrong example here. The first one is that we have support for Tapcart variables. So these kind of come in the same format as like Liquid, if you're used to using Liquid, which is that if you wanted to replace like some text in your block, and like instead you wanted to call something from the customer, maybe do customer first name. I don't remember if I did. Yeah. So what you'll see here is now it says John. The reason it says John is because I'm using customer first name. And we have a little tool back here that gives you default values for any variables you use for the preview. But just like Shopify Liquid, you can reference any data and fully bring context into your experiences you're building. And as an output, we have a toolkit called Tapcart Actions, which really, just to dumb it down, are just things that you can call in your code that actually write back and talk back to the app. So if you actually want to build experiences in your custom UI where you want to maybe let the user go view a product, add something to cart, or view a collection. You can build experiences that when tapped, you call the specific function on our SDK to say view a collection or open a product, add this product to cart, and it's going to do that natively in the app. So it's really a great two-way data flow for these apps or for these blocks, and really allows you to kind of come together and build things like this is like a homepage banner that's a little bit more dynamic than just having an image. Here's another one for bundling, where you can imagine maybe you want to build a block where with a single press of a button, you add 2 products to the cart at the same time, and you include a line item attribute so they can get a discount. And then, you can even go as far as like, maybe this isn't about e-commerce to you. Maybe you want to build something that's more of a game, more of an experience. This was just a basic iframe to illustrate the point. Whether you want to embed something or actually build it in the block itself, you can introduce engagement into your apps, just games, quizzes, obviously basic things would be YouTube videos and media players, but etc. Like anything you put on a website, you could put in a custom block. But even better, you can integrate those directly into the app if you want to bring a shopping experience into it directly. So that's custom blocks. What's really nice about them is when they are built, they're just like any other block. So let me remove this test one here. You can actually just add them right to your app as needed, just like it's a native block. And now that that's on your design, you could click save, and then that's deployed over the air. So deployed even easier than a website, and fully custom. I guess that's pretty much custom blocks in a nutshell.
So what does that mean?
Any questions?
I guess just to kind of give it a little bit more color. What the hell does that mean if you're not that technical, right? As you have more mature merchants, they're gonna want certain features on their app that they might have, that you guys may have done custom builds on for their site, right? So as an example, we mentioned a jewelry brand earlier, right? I think Anthony mentioned it. So how critical engravings are for jewelry brands. As soon as you do an engraving, then it's final sale, and returns are the bane of their existence for jewelry brands. So imagine creating a custom block that does engravings on the product page for these merchants. And the beautiful part about that is that you folks would then own that code, right? So if you have multiple different brands that need engravings on them, now you could repurpose the same code. I don't know if it's going to be one-to-one. You're probably going to have to redo some of the work, but that's the beautiful part about this now, so that when you're looking at particular merchants, another example is we often have product pages that are not really product pages, where you have individual pages that are for red t-shirt, white t-shirt, whatever, to get over the 100 variant limitation on Shopify. But you create that customization on your site when you're building a Shopify site to like stitch those little individual pages together on a single page for your merchants. Now you could do that within the app as well. And there's all sorts of different availabilities there. The other part of it, which is really cool, is that so our integrations, when we were working on building integrations with other tech partners, that would typically take about 4 months or so, right? Now that we can pass some of this work off onto our tech partners, we could get these integrations done within weeks. So with Gorgeous and Rebuy, who are the first 2 to try custom blocks, we should have our first version of this that's being alpha tested right now for both of them. And I think it took about 5 weeks or 4 weeks. Kenyon, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, less than that even.
So that's the exciting part. Like whatever number of integrations we have, we would have really not done a great job, in my personal opinion, if we don't like nearly double it by the end of 2023. Any questions there in terms of what we just saw and the potential use cases for even some of your existing merchants that are using Tapcart? Okay. So if there aren't any questions there, I guess another part that would be really good for you to know is like, what does this process look like? Let's say you have a merchant that you think might be a good fit for Tapcart, and you want to talk to them about it. one of the first things they're probably going to mention is, what the hell does pricing look like, right? And let's address that. And then I'll talk to you about like what the onboarding process looks like. And then if you have any other questions, we can address that as well. So in terms of pricing, our pricing, again, this is something that we're very transparent about. I'm just going to show my screen. So you could always just go to Tapcart/pricing. What you'll notice is that we have 3 different plans, right? When we're talking about the ideal client profile that I shared with you, they're all going to be Tapcart Enterprise users. For Tapcart Enterprise, the pricing starts at $1,200 a month, but it scales based on the number of sessions that they have. We do a whole ROI presentation, and we make sure that this is something that's going to be appealing for the merchant. But just to give you some context, when we're taking a look at like Princess Polly, Culture King, and like Fashion Nova, they end up paying something around the lines of $50,000 a month for Tapcart. When we're dealing with like smaller merchants that are just like, you know, starting out, it could be around $1,200. So it scales up based on the number of sessions. If you wanted to kind of take a deeper look at, okay, what's included and what's not, this is all listed on the Tapcart page. But essentially, the main thing for this is that you get everything, right? You have full access to our design team. You have full access to our customer success team. And we're there with you every step of the way. And you basically have us as being a part of the internal team for these folks. Now, in terms of the onboarding process, this is another thing for us to kind of go over so you have a better sense of what's going on. So let's say you have a couple of merchants in your mind that you think might be a good fit. You could always reach out to me in our shared Slack channel, or you could just reach out at ash@tapcart.com. And what I can do is I can immediately, one, reserve that merchant under your agency. So that means that going forward, we can have them reserved for you for 3 months, because let's face it, it takes time to plant those seeds, right? And they have all sorts of other priorities. So even though you think it might be a good solution for them and you want to plant that seed, it might take a little while. So even if they come in during that period of time and they ignore your exact instructions as to, hey, if you want an intro, let me know. I'll make the intro for you to get the best deal possible. They might just reach out to us internally, and it might be like an inbound. But if I have your notes and I could put that into my Salesforce documentation, then even if they come inbound, I could give the credit over to you folks. And essentially what we do is once you send over an email intro or you give me some context, we set up a demo with them, typically a half an hour to an hour, depending on the amount of time that they have. By the second call, we would ask them to have downloaded our app, and we would have a mock-up of what the app would look like. Our design team would go in, make it as on brand as possible, and just show them what the app would look like before they even contemplate signing anything. On the second call, we normally go over pricing. If it's scaled pricing, we go over all that with them. Then we do the kickoff call, and we make sure we list all the different integrations and whatever they need. And right now, if they need some custom blocks, we'll figure that out during that period of time. We make the developer accounts all in their name. The reason why we do that and we completely whitelist this is we want to make sure that if something happens and you guys want to divorce from Tapcart for that merchant, it's as easy as possible, right? Everything's in your name, so that if you decide that you want to make your own custom app that has nothing to do with Tapcart, you can still it's all in your control, right? We do a review call to just make sure everything is good. We get our customer success team involved to talk to you about, hey, what are some of the other similar brands doing to not only get people to download the app, but also to just keep them on the app. And then we do a soft launch with friends and family, with you folks, whoever you want, make sure everything is kosher. Then we do a hard launch. The entire process typically takes about 24 days. The reason why it takes longer than the 2 weeks is often because of this part, where we're actually asking the merchant to create the developer accounts for some reason, this takes more time than everything else. But the other thing is, for more mature merchants, you're going to want several iterations of design, and it's limitless for us. So we're happy to continue to iterate until we nail it. During this process, we also, at this moment, set up all the integrations for Klaviyo. So we have at 6 different flows that we set up. And going forward, you're able to do all the campaigns and flows and whatever you want to do, manage yourself. Our customer success team is going to still be there. And that's the part where I need to get more context from you folks. So how would you like us to treat any of the leads that are coming from you? So as things progress, we could be in a point where you guys are like, Ash, don't worry about any of the integrations with Klaviyo. We'll take care of that. We want to not just set the charge for maybe initial setup fee, but we might want to do an ongoing service, which makes perfect sense for you guys to manage push notifications, right? So that's all something that's malleable, and I'm happy to work with your team to figure out at which point during the process you guys would like us to pass the baton, and which other things you guys would like us to continue to manage, right? For support, we're always going to be there, but in terms of services offered to make the app that much more powerful, we're happy to kind of collaborate and figure out what works best. Any questions there? So is there anything else on this call that you folks would like us to review? I do want to leave the last 15 minutes for just questions.
I mean, like, typically, how involved are, the clients that you're getting on for these services, like their level of involvement? That's more so, my curiosity in getting my clients in touch with you guys. Like, is it, full white glove when they sign on, just the relationship between Tapcart and the client?
Yeah, so great question.
I'd be more curious about.
Yeah, Zach, thank you for asking that. So I think the integration with a lot of different apps ends up being a bit of a nightmare, right? Like, let's face it, because a lot of tech partners, because I was an MSM for for a while, and everyone that you talk to is like, oh yeah, it's just a click of a button. But when you actually look into it, you're like, oh, why is this taking me more than a freaking 2 months and like dev hours to kind of get it set up? So let's address that. In terms of the integration with Shopify, whether it's online 1.0, 2.0, headless, it doesn't matter. Because we use mobile SDK, we can pull all this information in and legitimately have a working app within like 10 days. The biggest part that they need to kind of do, and we walk them through the process for doing that as well, is creating the developer accounts. Beyond that is just giving us the okay on the designs. As we work forwards from there, what I'm hearing from my merchants is that they typically need maybe 2 hours, 3 hours a week to kind of continue to work on making the app that much better, right? Like, the initial idea of the mobile strategy is something that we need to hammer home though, right? So if you're not doing some sort of exclusive on the app, and it's just a better experience, you're not making your returning customers feel good, right? So we take care of telling you what the strategy is, what to do about like upcoming sales. We're there to create designs even that don't only involve the app. Like, if they want to design out certain content that they might want to push through email or SMS, we're happy to create those designs as well. But it's just a matter of like the ongoing relationships that we would want to have together with the merchant, right? So Zach, I guess the answer that I want to have there is that it's kind of flexible, because as much as I love this to be a full white glove service, the other thing that I have to question is like, at which point would you folks like to step in, right? And that might be more of a question for Mike to figure out, like, look, there are opportunities here for the agency to kind of take some of these things and start charging it for the client for potentially something that's going to be more like in line with what the merchant has in mind, right? So we do all the design, we nail it. but I wouldn't want you folks to right out of the bat to do the design, because I want you guys to at least experience it 2 times with us, so you have a good understanding of how it is that we're able to nail the 24 days launch period. But after you feel comfortable, you could also be like, Ash, you know what? For the initial even setup and the design of the app, I like to charge our merchants for that. We just built their site. I know exactly what they're looking for. Let us take care of that, and we want to charge our merchant for it. So I'm happy to do that. It's just a matter of kind of getting a sense of where you guys would like us to start and stop.
Yeah, no, that's very interesting. And then follow up would be incentives. Incentives for us to be selling those to our clients. Of course, important question.
Excellent. So look, anytime you guys just go ahead and book a call with me to be like, hey, Ash, I got a couple of merchants I want to chat through. Obviously, lunch is on me, right? I'm happy to cover that. Beyond that, what happens for you guys is that by any lead that we're able to close, if it's above $1,200 a month, if it goes into scaling, you guys get $500. If it's $1,200 or below, you guys get $200. And that's aside from obviously the rev share and everything else that we have for the agency.
Excellent. Yeah, and then we'll talk rev share with Mike, obviously. But,
Yeah.
Ash, remind me, what percentage do we get? I think it's like 20 or what was it again?
20%. So it's a scaling process, right? Like we basically scale you from one tier to the next based on the amount of monthly recurring revenue that we've been able to share. I'll share that with you, Mike, after the call to just make sure you have it in front of you. But essentially, it's after like we have one merchant together, which even at the core level, which ends up being about 250, you guys are an affiliate. Once we cross that 2,400 monthly recurring revenue for net new leads that you guys have sent us, you get 20% rev share for the first year. And once we cross the $10,000 monthly recurring revenue mark, you guys get 20% for the first 2 years of the contract with these merchants. But I'll send that all to you, Mike, after the call, so you have it in front of you.
Yeah, cool. You can send it to Cassandra. As a reminder to everyone, yeah, we split those directly with the respective team members. And I think a few weeks ago, first payment came in, I think for Go Lush that Anthony referred. Yeah, I think it was like for $270. I don't know what plan they're on, but it was pretty sizable.
Let's go.
good stuff, man.
Amazing. Any other questions, guys? Don't feel shy. Like I remember having these calls and you have like what if questions that would like stump the person that's doing the presentation. Don't worry about stumping me. Just go ahead, ask the tough questions.
Yeah, I have a question, and it's more maybe broader. The people who sign up for Tapcart and also the people who you guys retain, clients that stay on Tapcart. Do you see that they do kind of like all this extra stuff on their mobile app, like using push messages and all that, and that's where they see value, or some clients, you get the mobile app, you add it to your website, maybe do a few things, setup wise, and then you kind of don't touch it and it still performs well, or really you got to be inside it to actually get everything out of it.
Great question, Mike. Like that's the whole point where you're gonna see more value, because look, as you continue to mature, right, you're gonna have to focus in on retention way more, right? And the existing tools that you have for that is you would use SMS, which you have to pay for. You would use email, and you have like your loyalty and so on and so forth programs. Let's be clear. Generally speaking, when you're looking at a typical merchant of ours, the average is about 20% of their audience would actually adopt the app. We're not looking to get like that all of the audience to be on the app. You're going to get your most avid, loyal fans to download the app. But a part of that is the ongoing mobile strategy that you implement. Like, yeah, the initial setup and everything would take care of for you. But if, for instance, you have a Black Friday, Cyber Monday deal going on, and you don't, for instance, either more of a promo, if you're like, a fast fashion brand or someone that like could discount more heavily. Or if you're a jewelry brand, you don't want to discount, you want to do like gift with purchase that is exclusive on the app. Like if you don't have some sort of exclusivity on the app, it's not going to perform as well as it can. Like we need to have a mobile strategy in place. And as you start to get more and more people to be pushed onto the app, the more valuable it's going to be for you. Because the push notifications are absolutely free, unlimited, and they're immediate, right? There's no, like email, there's no throttling it or anything like that. Beyond that, with iOS 16 coming out, you're going to have the same problems with SMS as you would with email. So you know how you have that promotional tab that just gets crushed, where all the hard work that you're doing in terms of creating content for these folks, if they throw it in the promotional tab, there it goes. It goes into the nether sphere, right? You're never going to see it again. But with push, like as long as you're going to get that directly on the phone, whether it's on a like it's a closed, whether it's open or not, it's you're going to get these notifications. They're going to be content rich, and that's something that you're going to be able to use to avoid paying that extra dollars, right? So even when you're doing pay-per-click advertising, a great strategy is to avoid sending those ads to the people that have already opted in to push notifications, right? So it's one of those things that's going to continue to pay for itself more and more the more you have that strategy in place. In terms of implementing the strategy, you need about 2 to 3 hours. Like everything else is pretty simple for you to figure out. Even 2 hours a week should be sufficient for you to go through this, because our team is there to support the merchant every step of the way.
Cool, thank you. One more question. The apps, I assume they're like in the app stores, the Play stores. Like what ratings do they usually get? Like are they usually like, where am I headed to? It's separate from, you mentioned at the beginning, hey, this is a retention tool more than an acquisition tool. Separate from retention, I think it's a good like trust building tool, right? If a site has, brand has a mobile app, especially if it has lots of downloads and a good rating, I'm thinking much, more higher of that brand, especially if it's like an unknown one, right? It's like, hey, I'm not sure how I feel about this. Hey, they have a mobile app. Okay, they must be legit. So yeah, you guys are in the app stores, I assume. Is that part of the setup? Does it actually, get good ratings, these apps?
Yeah, like here are our apps. Instead of me telling you what the ratings on them are, like these are the premier apps that we always like to boast about. Take a look at them, see how they are, play around with them. Let me know what you think. Right? They're generally getting good reviews. Generally, it's above 4.0, even higher for some. But like there is, admittedly, up until this point, there are some certain functionalities that we weren't able to provide. So is Tapcart currently the best it could be? No. That's one of the biggest reasons why I'm thrilled about what Kenyon's working on, right? A lot of the issues that we have had is we weren't fully capable of doing a lot of the other experiences that merchants and users are looking for, right? So we do have a pretty robust integration with all sorts of, like, for instance, Loyalty Lion, Smile, and so on and so forth. But like depending on the merchant, sometimes you for instance can't see the reviews because we don't have an integration with them, right? So a lot of those issues that we were having before, I think we're going to be able to figure out, and we're going to be able to give the users a way better experience. Overall, our ratings are pretty dope, but I feel like it's going to just get better.
Cool. I'm looking at Google Watches, by the way, right now in the Play Store, the 500 plus downloads, 5-star reviews. Do you got, like, I'm looking at the screenshots, and they look awesome. Did you guys do that? Did we do that? I don't even know.
So even the screenshots we set up, right?
Nice.
So the whole process for getting these people listed on the App Store, we're there to support and do all that. But the only thing that we want to do is make sure that it's all in their name, right? Because that way, if shit hits the fan, you don't have that worry about, I'm stuck with these folks. We want you to be like, choose to be with us. And our churn rate is 1%, but shit happens. So if you feel like you want to go away, like we don't want to like hold you hostage in any way, shape, or form.
Cool. Thank you.
Anything else?
I guess I have one last question. Are there any offers or anything going on?
Great question. So what we can offer for all of our partners is two things. One is 2 months free. So they get 60 days free when they come through you. The other thing that they get is they get free access to a paid service that we have, which is called Insights Pro. Now, I mentioned earlier that this is our app is fully integrated into Shopify, so you could totally rely on a lot of the analytics that are coming from there. But our Insights Pro is normally a $200 a month fee that we charge for additional insights. So if you're taking a look at this, what we can show you is like, okay, when are people logging onto your app? When should you be sending out these push notifications? When do you have the most amount of traffic? What's going on in terms of the acquisitions stages, right? When we're taking a look at the overall revenue that's being generated for you, what's going on, looking at retention over time, push notifications, which push notifications are seeing the best results? How can we optimize that? And overall customer journey, where are people falling out of the funnel? All this information is provided in Insights Pro, and that's something that we could provide for free for the merchants that you send over as well.
Awesome. Any other questions from the team? Should we wrap things? We can wrap things up then. All right. I want to give you a big thank you to Ash for joining us today, and all of you guys for also hopping on. Tapcart is really a game changer for customers that are looking to grow and build out customer retention, and they're really providing a lot of value. So definitely keep Tapcart top of mind when working with your clients. But yeah, thanks again for joining us, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your Friday.
Thank you, everybody.
Good job,
Pleasure.
Sandra.
Bye,
Good job,
y'all.
Ash.
Thanks so much. Hey, guys.